Hey, I wanted to do a quick review of the morning so far. It's Tuesday, March 4th. Um, we had a bit of a drop this morning in the market, and now we've sort of rallied back to highs. I guess you could just call this balance, but it did feel like it could be a temporary bottom, and I wanted to talk about why I think that. So you can see here on the tick on both SPY and the QQQ, most of the time over the morning was spent below the zero line. And then finally here around 8:40 a.m. my time, we started to reverse that trend and spend more time above. Um, we also had elevated VIX uh, up until about 7:30 a.m. my time, so about an hour into the trading day, and since then it's been declining. So you could see based on VIX reversal that everything was going to start flipping around as of that time around 7:30, and you can see that was when this downtrend on SPY and the downtrend on Qs was broken and started going back to the upside here. So that was basically the bottom being set when the VIX reversed. Um, and then there was balance for a while. So you can even look here at 7:30 was here. We had the first little rally and then balance, and we stayed below the zero, and then finally started to when we came out of that balance, started coming back to the upside. That's when all this tick moved up. When you look here at the breadth reading, everything's kind of trading together. And this is something that I noticed early on. Is I was looking at this indicator here, which shows me QQQ, Apple, and SMH. That's like tech on one side of the market, and then XLF, XLV, and IWM, sort of everything else on the other side of the market. And everything in the morning was trending down at the lows. And you can see, based on where we closed yesterday, everything is still red. But from where we opened, things are starting to turn back around. So XLK technology is up, and XLE energy is up above the open. Not by much, but it's a bit of a turnaround. Also, we've had this bound Apple, despite all the weird stuff all the downside that we've had, even on the daily time frame, Apple's been holding up stronger. So it's the one line here that these green dots represent Apple, and it's been holding everything up, while everything else, as you can see there, was sort of towards the lows and now starting to come back up. So IWM returning to highs on the range of the day. And SMH up there as well with your NVIDIA strength. So SMH and NVIDIA are really what I wanted to talk about. So if I jump over here and go to NVIDIA on the daily time frame, on the daily time frame, that could be a bottom we just got right there. And you'll see here on the 30-minute time frame, we actually set a bottom pre-market, and then we opened and we were unable to get down to that. So that to me is just generally a bullish sign. NVIDIA was short sale restricted today because it dropped enough yesterday that it was in SSR state. And so what that really means is that people can't short on the bid. So they can't, it makes it harder for the stock to go down, essentially. You can only short above the bid. So it's not a guarantee rally, but it limits the amount of downside that a stock could see slightly. And what I saw there, if you look at it on the 5, actually, it was pretty clear. You got this tightening range. And you could even say it started pre-market. And then we got our high on the morning, higher low, lower high, higher low, and then a break of this level here and a push up. We tested the high from the morning, did a little cup with handle, and then through, and now we're continuing onward. So who knows if that's going to hold or what. But NVIDIA and SMH have been the ones I feel like without their support, it's going to be really hard for technology to continue back to the upside and get any sort of turnaround. And so even a temporary bottom, we need NVIDIA, and which is the leader of the semis, to sort of bottom out temporarily, for the QQQ overall to bottom out temporarily. Now, at this point, obviously the most likely scenario is a lower high here on the weekly time frame. Right, let's look at this. So let me get rid of this guy. On the weekly time frame, we're dealing with this, where we had our high, low, basically a double top, but you could say it's a lower high. And then we got a little bit of balance, but then lower low, lower high, and now we have a slightly lower low, assuming that is the low. And then the next likely scenario is a lower high again, below this high, and then potential downside more. So we'll have to see what happens, but it is a weekly downtrend essentially. But in the short term, we could get some relief, I think, if this daily candle closes green and then we continue pushing up. I think NVIDIA and the semis generally finding support is going to be a good thing for the short term time frame, like daily time frame. Apple, you can see, has been in this balance, right? And so it had this low, set a lower high, and now it's just continuing to balance. Just as everything else was dropping today, just completely stuck in this sideways range below the balance from yesterday. So not a lot to talk about there. But I will say that the other one that's been really interesting is XLF has been dumping. And specifically, you got your Bank of America, which had a huge drop. And I was looking to play this, but instead I decided to focus on my long-term portfolio and add some long swings today on the 200-day test. I'll talk about those in a second. But basically, we had this 3-minute EMA 12 resistance. If I put this down to the 3, I think it was a 3-minute. Yeah. You can see this blue line here. Our price couldn't get above it there, couldn't get above it there, came back down, and then finally broke above it here, and that was your beginning of your rally. I looked at it as kind of a falling wedge. I think this is on the 2-minute time frame. Yeah, falling wedge there, and it was unable to get to lows again and then rally. And sadly, I didn't take a trade here. I wanted to buy it there, but I was looking at other things. But that's just a huge drop. And if you look at it on the daily time frame, or sorry, this is the wrong chart. I'll flip this one here. So daily time frame, daily downtrend. Look at it on the weekly. Now we're in a weekly downtrend with this weekly lower high, and now a bear break to the downside on the monthly time frame, scouting a higher low. And we were at the 200-day moving average. So I don't know where we're going to get that monthly higher low, but were we daily oversold today? No. But that was such a sharp drop, you kind of have to be thinking about a bounce on that one, which is why I was looking at that. But I wanted to add to my long-term swings because I decided that at the 200-day, I have to make an attempt at a long because the 200-day has been such a great place to get long on the way up. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of the 200-day. Adding to my long-term position is kind of necessary because my average is somewhere way down here. So I just added a little bit there. And I also have this long-term position in ITOT, which also touched the 200-day today, so I added to that. And I don't really care if we get a bounce, if it goes below. This is a long-term position that I'm thinking I need to just keep building, and I'll be hedging against these if we get weekly lower highs, both on the QQQ and ITOT. So that's where my focus was today, as we're dipping so hard. Was thinking, this looks a lot like one of these, right now. And so when everything's fearful, that should be a time to buy, especially for your long-term positions. So started doing some of that and can continue to scale in if we see more downside. Okay, so yeah, interesting day in the market, really. And I feel like we might have a temporary bottom here and be going back up for a weekly lower high. We will see. I could be wrong. There's still a lot of day left. But yeah, thought I'd share my thoughts.